Hello, it is time to talk cross-stitch. It is December the 11th on 2023, and I am the Stitching Owl. Welcome to everybody in the lovely month of December. Hanukkah has already begun for my Jewish friends. I know that there is much worry in your world. May family and joy be part of the celebrations this month, as we all pray for those that are not safe in other parts of the world. Advent is indeed a time of joy and anticipation for the Christmas that is coming around the corner, and it is coming quickly. There is a lot of Flossmasses being recorded on a daily basis by many talented presenters. I hope you are enjoying their daily output. My apologies for the enthusiastic background music by my dog Lola. I am sure that quite simply we have somebody walking by our house. For some people, this particular month can actually be a challenging month. It can be for many, many reasons. For those of you who are experiencing this, I hope that you will reach out. Within the Flosstube community, I am finding that there is much support and much willingness to be there for each other. If you need a friend to Zoom with, please let us know and we'll figure out a way to make that happen. The response to my last video was quite amazing in such a wonderful way. I've actually been quite speechless as I have watched so many delightful comments come in. I had particularly supportive shout outs that sent some new viewers my direction. And then Sarah of Sarah's Stitchy Spot's request about music caused a story and video inclusion that seemed to touch many people. I thank you for letting me know that it touched you. Music is a universal language, and as such, I appreciate the opportunity to use the talent that I was given to speak with you, regardless of where you are. I was so delighted that many of you felt compelled to comment on my playing and my stitching, and I loved that you often told me a little bit about yourself. I discovered that there were some other Flosstubers who are also piano teachers. It's actually quite exciting because the world becomes smaller and smaller as we gather closer. Thank you to all the new subscribers as well as the returning subscribers. I have watched my numbers almost double in the last month, and I truly appreciate this. You are all welcome here. Last video, I did not comment on my Send a Smile program, and some of you probably wondered why. Well, I had not visited the post office yet, and as such, I didn't feel comfortable saying that I had sent a smile when in reality, there had been no sending. The day after my last Flosstube, I did send. Now, my Christmas cards, some of my Christmas cards are going out as straight Christmas cards to those who have recently received ornaments, and others are going out as Christmas cards with full Send a Smile opportunities enclosed in them. Some of them are going across the ocean into the British Isles area, and others are going across Canada and into the United States. So I was really, really pleased to you don't know when you send these out how long it's going to take for them to arrive, because it is cost prohibitive. When I sent one to Ireland, they told me to track it. It was going to cost me $70. So with a hope and a prayer, I sent it. So it was with delight that I received a DM from Sarah of Sew Me Sarah that an envelope had arrived. So thank you for letting me know that all was well and that indeed a smile was to be had. I want to say that I also sent a smile to Felicia of Mouse Potato Designs. She actually got to me first. She sent me my first Puntini pattern called Boo to You. I have it right here. I happen to be commenting. I often comment on videos as well as Instagram, and she picked my comment out of someone on Instagram and said, I'd like to send you something. I went, oh, that would be quite lovely. And I just was like, that's fine. Well, she sent me this cute pattern. Now, the note in it said, I'm not sure if this is your style. Why, yes, it is. I can make this into an ornament. And you know what? She included the DMC. So here we go. I already have the Lugana that this can be stitched on, and you know this is going to be one of my designers for my 24 designers of my 24 ornaments in 2024. Well, I'm going to be honest, there'll be more than 24 ornaments, but there will be at least 24 different designers, and I have a new one to add in immediately. So thank you so much. Let me see. Lisa of Lost in Stitches happily received her Christmas card, as well as another card that had an ornament in it. I had made a Waxing Moon Designs ornament that was 2 swans with some hearts. She has such a close relationship with her husband that this little ornament just reminded me of them, so I sent it off, and it's on a Christmas tree now, so I'm so glad. And hello to Lisa and Paulo. My last Send a Smile for that particular send was sent out to the, well, I'm not actually going to say where it was sent. I did actually send the flamingo stocking as a Send a Smile. And until I hear that it has been received, I'm hesitant to actually say where it has gone. So hopefully the next time we're together, I can let you know that a smile has happened. Oh, you know what? I need to go around the corner. Excuse me for a moment. I am back. I received my first Christmas card myself, and it was absolutely lovely. You can almost imagine figuring out how you would stitch this. Don't you just actually look at almost everything and go, ooh, can I stitch that? So Rose, thank you. Rose Barrow has her own Flosstube, and I'd love for you to take a peek at it. She's at Flosstube number 4. That was recently posted. Thank you, Rose, for including, yes, you guessed it, DMC. That is definitely colors that I can use in my ornament making. Very useful colors, of course. So I hope you'll give her a chance and see what she has to do now. She has an important birthday coming up next year. Now, she's turning 60, not 50, and she has assured us that no, she will not be doing 60 new starts in 2024, but she has a new plan, and I'd like for you to visit her Flosstube in order to find out what that plan is. So I did gear up for more Send a Smiles. I had originally planned to do this video on Saturday ahead so that I could show you all sorts of ornaments. But then life got me, and I thought, you know what? I know the closing date for sending things across the border is coming quickly. So I made sure I did all of the family things that needed to be done on the weekend, and I scooted to the post office between family things. And because of that, in total, over the last 3 weeks, I have sent out a dozen Send a Smiles that have ornaments in them. Today, you will be getting pictures of the ones that I finished in the last 2 weeks because I don't have them. And it was really, really exciting to be able to send those out, but I did need to get them into the mail so that they'd be there before Christmas. Thank you for understanding. Okay, so did anybody else go to the Jingle Ball? I think that the answer is going to be a resounding yes. For $10, how could you lose? When you signed in, you didn't have to do anything else, and you had free charts from most, not quite all, but most of the 12 designers who were participating. Now, even though it wasn't 100% that gave freebies, many of them that gave freebies gave multiples. So your $10 was already well spent right there. Now, this was a Friday night, Saturday, Sunday at the very beginning of December. And there have been many Flosstubers who've given wonderful recaps of everything that they did and all of the different classes that they participated in and the designer chats that went on. So I'm going to let you watch their videos instead of saying some of the same things over and over again. What I am going to say is I did do a bit of shopping beyond my freebies. I showed restraint largely because I've somewhat finished my budget for 2023 for cross stitch. If I could have, I would have actually bought every pattern from Satsuma Street because I just think they're absolutely marvelous. And oh my goodness, hands-on design, like it just was quite amazing. The ones that I did end up purchasing were actually from Luminous Fiber Arts, Misty Purcell, and I just purchased 2 of hers. Now I am going to apologize because it would appear that I need to replace the color cartridges in my printer. So there are some wackadoodle lines here, but these are the Christmas Bird Trio, and you can see if I hold this up that we've got a beautiful little wren, chickadee, and blue jay. So they're absolutely adorable. And yes, you know that I was looking for ornaments. I did purchase the 2023 ornament Jingle Ball Baubles kit as a PDF, and I'm already in the process of printing out some of those as well. The other Luminous Fiber Arts that I purchased was this Sweet Christmas one. You can see they're little tags, but I mean, these could easily be ornaments as well. They're just totally adorable, and I think that they would be quick stitches that you could add to any gift in the future. I am not going to get these done in 2023. But while I was making one purchase, I thought, let's do 2. So that's where my purchase money went there. And the one thing that Canadians always had to keep in mind is that when we looked at the price tag we were seeing, it wasn't going to come through with the same charge on our Visa bills, because the American dollar is doing better than the Canadian dollar right now. So that was something else that I was keeping in mind as I was going. What else did I do with the Jingle Ball? Well, the first night, ooh, there goes my puppy dog again. The first night I tried to go into a stitching room using my iPad, and it was impossible for me to be seen or heard. I could listen in and stitch, but I couldn't be fully engaging with people. So I was a little frustrated, but discovered that it really wasn't just me, that there was something that the way they had their platform, it didn't work with all iPads. So the next day I went to my laptop and I had 100% success. So I started with the international room, which was totally amazing to have people from, yes, there's people from the United States and Canada, but Germany, I think there was somebody from Saudi Arabia, Brazil, oh, the woman from Brazil, absolutely amazing. One of the ladies from the States gave the best trunk show I have seen in a long time, and it turned out that she had owned a store, and I was just amazed and felt like, wow, this I wish everybody had actually been able to see what we saw in that moment. That afternoon I trimmed the tree with my family. On Sunday I went into the early bird room, and I also went into the Canada A room. Now that I found that was really fascinating, because I was meeting people that were from different areas of Canada. Some of them were from Ontario, but were from little spots that just couldn't get to an LNS very well. And so I was like, so seriously, folks, here's my email. I'm only 20 minutes. If you need something, it might be cheaper to let me know and have me send it to you like a Send a Smile than to actually pay to have it sent through the LNS. But so many wonderful people that I hope I will meet, and indeed I have confirmed that some of them have already signed up for the Stitch North October, and I will get to meet them in person. Isn't that delightful? Absolutely delightful. So overall, I did go to see the Primrose Cottage presentation of Meet the Designers, which was absolutely lovely. Most of my time was actually spent in the stitching rooms. I just found it so nice to have company while I stitched. So I'm going to change topics now and say that on December 1st, before I tried my first stitching room at Jingle Ball, I went to a Zoom with the Sunshine Stitchers. Shelia and EJ launched their Bake Me a Quaker Sal and invited us to join them to start their Quaker. So, hang on. The pattern we are using is the Rosewood Manor 1 dozen Quakers. It is not too late to start. What they have done is said there is a dozen Quakers here. That means 1 Quaker a month. Now you can see here, I'm just going to go closer. Some of them are teeny tiny. That would not take very long. And others are more substantial. So they're saying, have a look at the pattern, figure out which months you're going to have lots of stitching time, and do your more complicated ones then. And then when you have months like December, oh, feel free to pick that little teeny tiny one. Now there was quite the discussion about the fact that some of these little guys here, oh my goodness, that's over one stitching, which means that our Ada girls were like, oh my. So they're thinking out how they're going to attack those little guys. Now what I did, you know, the stitching owl, I'm going to do these 12 Quakers, but I'm going to do each Quaker as an ornament. So I took this one right here and I stitched it. So I stitched it 5 times that weekend. That Quaker's not that big. And I did it on 14 count Ada. What I did was I took the edges that I had cut off from the flamingo stocking, because when you go around the toe, you come up and there's this strip, and I was like, I'm not throwing that out. I'm going to keep that and see what will work. Well, so I did 5 times of this particular one. I'm just going to go in close, and you can picture that I put beads into many of these little spots. Each of my 5 are a different color combination. If the gods are with me, the pictures from my phone will be able to transfer so that I can put them up here. So one pair are going in one envelope for a Send a Smile, and the other 3 are all going in separate envelopes. So that's why there's 2 pictures of those Quakers. Now it happens that I have a little bit left of material, so I think I'm going to actually be doing that Quaker one more time before I am finished. But it was fun, and it was actually quite easy for me to do that while I was in a stitching room, because I just picked 2 colors and off I went. So yes, indeed, I got that going, and believe it or not, I did join Facebook. Yes, that's what it's called. Oh my dear. So that I could actually do the Sunshine Stitchers and get the Zoom links and everything like that. And then I was like, now how am I supposed to actually post anything? Well, delightfully, there's buttons. I thought I was going to have to ask my children, but this dinosaur figured out if there's a little button that says camera, press it and it'll take a picture. So I have already done my first post on the Sunshine Stitchers Facebook. So I'm absolutely delighted, and I am looking forward to the rest of my experience with the Bake Me a Quaker Sow. I hope that some of you will join us on that whole thing. It's just going to be so much fun. Okay, so now we need to go on to more fully finishes. So many of these are starts and finishes, such as what I was just discussing. I also finished one of the Christmas Bird Trio by Misty Purcell. I've got to tell you that these are a quick stitch. Okay, hang on, let's see. So the one that I finished and is winging off to one of the warmer states. Okay, so I did this little sparrow in a Santa hat. Now, let's look at this border. That is an exquisite border. It is 2 colors. It is easy to stitch. And it goes so fast. You can stitch it in the DMC, you can stitch it in overdyes, you can use what Misty suggests, you can use your stash. To my mind, you can use this, and then you could put anything in the center that is a small motif that you want. Now, Misty does provide within, mine is a PDF, the size of circle that you would cut out of your comic book board to make your ornament for different sizes of stitching cloth. So, I mean, she's really thought of everything. It's a quick stitch. I enjoyed it, and hopefully you're seeing a picture of it here. Okay, so that was stitched on. I've got to tell you that. 2 threads over 2 on 32 count Lugana. What I got was a tiny cut. You can just get 1/8 cuts or tiny corners from 1, 2, 3 stitch. And when it came, it just said Lugana. So I have no clue exactly what Lugana it was, but it was a dusty blue that was perfect for the background and was such a lovely weight. I wish I knew who produced it and what color it specifically was. The circular border I mentioned, and I actually did, of course, include some beads because that's what Karen does. Now, one of the other things that I'm just going to mention at this point is you're now hearing that I have been doing quite a few ornaments in the last couple of weeks. And I was noticing that by the time you had 2 or 3 layers of, oh, there's my husband, 2 or 3 layers of batting and the ornament on the outside, that the top of the ornament ended up a little bit bigger. So I started making the cardboard piece for the backing fabric slightly bigger. And you'll see a picture inserted here. I would say it's about 1 millimeter bigger. You don't want it too much bigger. So I'd say less than 1/8 of an inch if you're doing imperial. Somewhat of an experiment. What I did find when I was doing the circular patterns for ornaments is that when I beaded the outside, there's my hubby. That there was a tiny ledge for the beads, so they sat really quite nicely. And I thought, wow, I accidentally came upon something that I had not thought of before, and I wanted to share it with you. I also fully finished my motif from Jacob's Modern Folk Embroidery chart, Love Gains. That was shown as a finish in my last Flosstube. There he is again, my own personal Santa Claus. I am so fortunate. My husband has a wonderful sense of humor. A sense of humor goes a long way. Yes, okay, so back to Jacob's Modern Folk Embroidery, Love Gains. I had done one of his half Quakers, made it into a full Quaker with white sulky 12 weight thread on red candy floss linen, 32 count. That was a Roxy Floss Co. Purchased from Evertote. I made it into a circular ornament as well that hopefully you will see here. And you will notice that yes, it was beaded. It ended up with 3 layers of batting. And then one of the things I did with this one is that when we're dealing with linen, especially when it's like 28 or 32 count, sometimes the linen is, well, I mean, it's 28 or 32 count, so it is a little bit looser. And so I was going to actually compromise the color, the beautiful color that Carrie had made, this candy apple red, if I just put it straight onto the white batting. So what I did was I cut a circle of red cotton and put it right against the back of my ornament, so that when I put my running stitch around the ornament, it was going through both layers, and in that way the true color of the linen stayed instead of becoming affected by the white that was behind it. I sometimes wonder whether people are understanding that when they go to a framer and we just wrap something around a white board, that in some cases we are going to be affecting the color of the linen that we so carefully curated for that stitch. So something to think about, that in some cases having a piece of paper, just even cardstock behind, that's the color of the linen, will help to keep the saturation true. Okay, so that was that. Okay, so that was my fully finishes, and you'll see that I have none of them to show you because they all went out. Finish. Well, I did actually want to have a finish to show you. So to prove how doable the Christmas trio birds were of Misty Purcell's, I started one yesterday at 4 o'clock. And I finished it complete with beading. Hang on, there we go. Let's see if I can actually get a pretty thumbnail out of this. Mine rarely have anything to do with stitching on them. They're just my face. So in here you can see how big of a circle I put around here and the beading that I put on. I didn't put on an excessive amount of beading, just enough that there's a bit of sparkle. I love the shapes of snowflakes that Misty has put on here. And guess what? With the bigger snowflakes, no two are the same. Is that not cool? Because it's the truth. No two snowflakes are supposed to be the same. So this is very doable. So understand, I still did my time on my stitching owl. This was not even monogamous for the last 20 hours. This was just something that I did. So very doable. I hope you'll look it up. So that was my one finish to show. Oh, I forgot to say, I had 5 Quakers. That's a Yahtzee. I wasn't going for one of the poker hands today. I was going for something with a Yahtzee, and I forgot to say it at the right time. I will put it in as the title. Okay, so before I go on, I wanted to talk about a summer project that I had in the year 2022. One of the things that has bothered me over the years was how much garbage happened on Christmas Day. When my children were little, I was not going to deprive them of the joy of ripping off that paper. My children are all at least 24 years old now. So the joy of paper does not need to be in place. So I have taken my quilting cotton and twine or ribbon, and I have made bags for the different gifts that we give to each other. These are used at birthdays as well. So there is no garbage there. But then you guessed it, the first time we tried to slap one of the stickers from the dollar store onto the cotton that we write the name on, the sticker didn't stay. So the next day we went to the tree and all the stickers were just sort of floating randomly under the tree, and we didn't know who they belonged to. And I was like, we still have garbage. So what I did was I said, I have little cut-off sides for the different ornaments and pictures that I have. So I'm going to actually do some lettering of people's names, and I'm going to make permanent names for our gifts. So for instance, this is my dog's. Yes, we give our dog a Christmas treat. Now you're thinking, cat, how inventive. My daughter has a cat, and when she inherited it from a roommate that didn't want it, it came with the name Miss Cat. So, cat it is. Duncan is also a cat. So you can see these are just purely, I just put cardboard in the center of these. And then, like, you can do mom and dad. And you can take any lettering that you want. So I just wanted to share with you that was something that I did. And we literally now have no garbage after our gift giving session at all. And I'm delighted. Absolutely delighted. Okay, on we go. So, finish for now. I am taking part in the Jardin Prive SAL that is being run by Colette, the highway stitcher, and Brenda, the handwork maniac. They are using the Office de Nichoirs, or the birdhouses pattern. Now, this is a pattern that is, okay, and again, I apologize for not replacing my ink yet. It will be replaced before my next one. So you can see that it's actually a full picture, but there is a different birdhouse for each month. And if you were here last time, you know that I'm making each month into its own ornament. Now, I am at this point not ornamenting them yet. I'm going to just sew them each, and then I'll cut them apart when I have a row of the birdhouses done. Now, I wanted these birdhouses to be quite small, and I just decided I was going to jump in and to say, I'm going to try a 28 count panettone even weave from Roxy Floss Co at Evertote and see if I can do 1/1 full cross. The answer is yes, I can, but wow, it is not a fast stitch. In order to get the correct lie of the stitch, you can't use a sewing method. It must be poke and stab. So last month, so October, we had the pumpkin house with a woodpecker. And November, we have, wow, this is a crazy bush. When it gets fall colors, has all of the colors of the world. And then we have, yes, you guessed it, it's perfect for the stitching owl, a great horned owl. I think it's turning out really, really cute with it being the 28 1/1. It's just, it does take time. The other day, I was proctoring a 3-hour exam. I knew I was going to be in a room with very bright light, so I thought, hey, I can take this 28 count. Well, in 2.5 hours, I got that house done. That's it. I had to come home and do the rest of the owl. I thought I was going to get all of that done. No. and I had good kids that I was watching. I did not have very many interruptions at all. I did have to, as people finish, make sure that we had sorted out their exams and such. But yes, 28 1/1. I love the look. I just wouldn't do it constantly because I like to stitch faster than that. I have to be honest. Okay, and then that brings us to whips. Okay, so a modern folk embroidery under the stars. This is my 2 strands a day project, but I have to admit, my 2 strands a day only worked for one of the weeks of the last 2 weeks because I just discovered that I wasn't going to get my ornaments done unless I took time from something, and I opted to take it from my Jacob piece because I knew that I was going to have 2 weeks off at Christmas from my teaching and that I could do 4 strands a day and play catch up. So in here, I did get this finished. I wanted to get that done. The space is still there. I love it, and I missed doing it. I just needed more than 24 hours in a day. Now, that is being stitched on 32 count Blue Moon Lagana from Stitch It Central here in London, Ontario, Canada. I am thrilled that Tricia of the Flosstube I Just Want to Stitch has purchased this pattern, and I believe she's actually given it a start. If you're wanting a daily watch as part of your Advent, she is doing the opening of the Evertote Advent envelopes, and she's actually stitching the pattern. Now, I don't know, I haven't seen anybody who's completely caught up, but she's doing a marvelous job, and she is, I've got to say, I just love listening to her British accent. She's so much fun to listen to. Now, the thing that no matter what, I'm going to give 2 hours every night is my BAP. Thanks to the New Hampshire Stitcher, so many of us jumped into these huge works, and they didn't have to be a full coverage, but for many of us, that's what we chose. Now, I chose Stained Glass Owl by Sharova Creations as found on Etsy. This comes as a PDF with 4 different options for sizes. I chose 400 by 400. The bigger you get, the more colors are involved. No surprise there. And the nice thing about the Sharova Creations is that for those of you who prefer to use Pattern Keeper, they Pattern Keeper their patterns. So I have to admit that I'm contemplating asking my husband how we can do maybe a new tablet that's just for Pattern Keeper. Yeah. I'm a dinosaur. I've been using paper, but I can see that it has its value. I really can. Oh, there's the alarm again. So just to explain, Lhasa Apsos are lion sentinel dogs. They are from Tibet, and they were actually something that was a breed that was used by the monks in the Tibetan mountains. And the reason that they were used was twofold. Number one, they did not have central heating. And so these little dogs love to either sit on your lap or sit on your feet and will keep you toasty warm. But the other thing is that they sound the alarm when anybody comes close to your acreage. And so they were actually the alarm system for a peaceful society back in the days. And so even though she's only a 10-pound ball of fluff, she sounds the alarm anytime somebody walks past. But when we are out for a walk, she's mute because she's not on her own territory, so she has nothing to protect. It's hilarious, but it is true to the breed. Okay, so back to my map. Okay, let's see where I am. Well, okay, let's look at this. I am on this side over here. And what you're going to see is I've got a chunk of this coming in. I'm getting closer to down here. I've got this started, so I'm almost to the bottom here. My goal this past week was, could Karen get to the tip of this spot so that I can fill this area in, and yes, by January 1 of 2024, start stitching a feather. Because this is an owl, and I'm spending a lot of time without doing anything about an owl. But it's okay, it's beautiful. I'm not regretting this. I love this pattern. So let's have a look. There we are. So you can see, let's see, there's the tip that right here is going to be the beginning of the owl. And there was that bright yellow color that I'm only about 60 stitches from the bottom. So the question is, how am I doing with my count? I'm now over 30,000 stitches, which means I'm averaging about 10,000 stitches a month. And that would mean that a 400 by 400 will take about 16 months to complete. Now, I'm fully aware that people who stitch full coverage often hit a wall at some point and want to take a break and have a month where they just do everything but that stitch, or they go to a different full coverage. So because of that, I am not going to pick I want to be done by. I don't know how it's going to feel in 6 months when I have continued to do 200 to 300 stitches every single night. So I want to leave myself open to being able to take a bit longer, but it would be cool if it was early 2025. It would be really cool. So I'm super proud of that. Super proud. Now, last week I introduced you to my mystery stitch that was a cross stitch pattern testing that I'm doing for instant cross stitch. They are on Etsy. They already have a number of patterns available. I hope you'll have a peek. Now, I invited people to take a guess at what they thought this was going to be. Good idea to think about a moon. It's not going to be what it is, but that was a good idea. So this is where I am right now. Now if I move in, let's see. Can you see that right here there's teeny bits of red? That's a hint. There's more red to come when you're going down. So I'm trying to think. Over here, I'm going to be putting my third page on soon. But with this, it's 6 pages of stitching, but there's only 2 pages that are full pages, and these are the 2 pages that are the full pages. So that means that I've got to over here and to over here, and then down to go. So I am still hoping for finishing in 6 to 8 weeks. I'm going to give it my best shot. but I'm not going to sacrifice everything else that I love to do for Flosstube in order to achieve it. And I was clear about that when I took this project on. So that was that one. Now, I also have a new category called A Whip Barely Started. Let me see. What do I mean by a whip barely started? A whip barely started. So there's not much going on here. So I did purchase a pattern from the Aussie Family Zoo website, Etsy store that is to do with peace, love, rescue is what the words are in this particular sign. It is an 80 by 80 stitch. And what I'm doing right now is I am recharting it. Sorry, Allison. What I'm doing is I'm going to take out the word peace and I'm going to move love, rescue, and Millie. My neighbor rescued a dog and she named her Millie. And I want to make this into a 3.5-inch ornament. So I'm going to adjust this and stitch it on a 20 count Aida so that I can make Millie an ornament for her very first Christmas next door. So I hope you will check out the Aussie Family Zoo Etsy website, Etsy store. I keep saying that wrong. So as you can see, even though I've finished making the ornaments for my Send a Smiles, I've now started making the ornaments for my neighbors because I've got several that I would like to do this for. We have one family who are from the Wales area, and she has a fairy garden that every time you walk past, they change something up. It's around one of their trees. And so I would like to do some little gnomes, again by Jardin Prive, and make a little ornament for her and pop it in her mailbox. There's another gardener who has been particularly helpful in teaching me how to garden because I haven't had time. I haven't known how to do it. And I'm hoping as I inch closer to retirement that I will have more time for this. Yes. Brenda, the handwork maniac, and I are both looking at retiring from a school-based or teaching-based job in the June of 2024. I might still have a little bit of touching up with a couple of students, but I'll be for the most part retired. And so I'm hoping to do some more gardening. And so I really appreciate it when somebody will help me out. Okay, planning. You haven't heard that word from the Stitching Owl before. And the reason for that is that I'm a stitch what you want when you want gal. And I know you're thinking, what do you mean you stitch what you want when you want? You're doing that owl every night. Yeah, but that's because I want to do it. And that's where a lot of people differ. A lot of those who do the stitch what you want when you want often have 20 to 30 or even more whips, and they just sort of, what do I feel like today? Whereas I tend to have 5 or 6 whips, and I stitch what I want at any particular part of the day, but I actually tend to get to all of them at some point during the day. And then when one gets done, it's like, well, what do I feel like doing next? So for me, whip go is not something that's going to happen, A, because I don't have enough whips, and B, because I don't actually want to have a number drawn and then go, I don't feel like doing that. On the other hand, I'm curious about how it'll feel. So since I joined Facebook, I decided that I was going to be influenced by one of my other favorite Flosstubers, Carolyn Zook. I'm sure you all know who I'm talking about. She does marvelous videos. She comes on a regular basis. I think she does like a weekly stitching, and then she does all these extras where she does flip throughs and she shows you all of her finishes. Oh my goodness, she's prolific. And she's such a sharing person. She shows you how she's going to finish her things. I've learned so much from her. Well, she is part of the Magazine Monthly Club on Facebook. I can never remember that name, Facebook. And so I thought, since I joined Facebook for the Sunshine Stitchers, I might as well join that too. Because she had always done Bringo and AB Singo, and I'm like, well, when she does it, she gets creative. She makes things work. So I went on and I figured out, so I've got this. I'm going to type it up. I don't know if I'm doing this right. I just put the numbers anywhere on my bingo board. Maybe they were supposed to go in order, but I don't think so because everybody's not getting a bingo at the same time. Because if everybody did it in the same order, anyway, so I did it randomly. And then they've got some really cute categories, like a whip or a start using the colors of your flag. And I'm like, ooh, I can do a Quaker using red and white. That's great. So I put down 1 dozen Quakers there because I know that I'm going to be doing 5 or 6 of those every month. Well, at least in the months where I have the smaller ones. We'll see what happens when I've got the bigger ones. But I can do a red and white one for that. What's another one? Tied to class studies like geography, history, or music. And I was like, okay. Well, Carolyn, you stretched a point at times, so I'm going to stretch a point. In music class, you sing. Birds sing. Jardin Prive birdhouses. There's a bird on every house. So I'm still going to get, a lot of the time I'm still putting in things that are something here, like one whip that is sparkly. Well, what I'll do is I'll just leave one of the ornaments that I'm doing without the beading, and then on the day that comes up, I'll put the beads on because beads are sparkly. So I'm gonna try this and see if it works, and if I have fun doing it. I think I will. It's free. It's a sense of community with people there, and I can actually sort of go along, and when I'm doing the comments on Carolyn's, I can say, well, this is what I did today. So yeah, I'm going to give it a go. Okay. Flosstuber highlights. So I'd like to spotlight a couple of Flosstubers at this point that I enjoy. And the first highlight is a relatively new highlighter, but I will say that they're already fairly popular. Cross Stitch the Globe is a channel with sisters Stephanie and Allison. Now, what is really neat about this sister pairing is that they represent 2 different paths within cross stitch. Allison is relatively new to stitching, while Stephanie is a more seasoned stitcher. And indeed, and hopefully I don't have their names reversed. Hopefully they'll let me know if I did that. Stephanie is actually designing now, and she's a skilled photographer, and she's taking her own photographs and she's making them into designs that she is going to sell. So I love just the way they chatter back and forth. It's just so natural, and you can see that they can support each other as they try different things, and it's just so much fun. Now they post every other week, but as a regular, let me try that again. Every second week they have a regular Flosstube. On the in-between week, they put up what they call an extra. And one of my favorite topics was 23 things all Flosstubers say. And I have to admit, they nailed it. Because so often, I know I'm sitting here going, okay, how is the light reflecting in my glasses? Or, I'm so sorry, I didn't iron anything today. So have a look. If you haven't found them already, I hope you do. Now, since I'm talking about traveling, I thought I'd talk about another well-traveled stitcher. My second spotlight will be the globe-trotting stitcher, where we find Amy truly spending a lot of time on an airplane, jetting between the United States and Africa. She is deeply involved in agriculture, and I'm going to stop there with regards to what she does for a job. You need to actually listen to her chat about what she does, because I can't follow all of it, but it sounds like actually it's something that's extremely interesting and desperately needed. So she's stitching on airplanes and in hotels. And what is particularly fun is she's got a wide variety of stitching pattern sizes. Like she will stitch one at like a waxing moon design, one of them that I've done, she has done, all the way to a bigger Victorian house that I think is a full coverage house. I really think it is, Amy. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then I think her cameraman is her husband. And Gary has been roped into stitching as well. So he does a cameo appearance on every one of these Flosstubes. And they are well into this. They've been doing this for a while. I forgot to check how many they've done. It's over 30. So he's doing 1 or 2 stitches at a time and shows what his progress is. And just, he's got a great sense of humor. They also own a pair of dogs that if it's a rainy day, they are the best dressed dogs in the world. So I would give them a quick look. It's delightful and moderately lengthed. They don't go over the hour, but they're not so short that you can't get any stitching done. So really lovely. And now just for a moment, I want to talk about 50 starts from November 2023 to celebrate Penny's daughter Cher's turning 50, SAL. I'm supporting this, and it's going to be overlapping Somi Sarah's 50 starts that begins in January of 2024. I'm sure that it will all work out. Right at the moment, I am at 8 starts since the beginning of November. When I do something like I do with taking the Jardin Prive birdhouses or the 1 dozen Quakers, that counts as 1 start, even though it might end up as 12 ornaments or 20 ornaments. It's 1 start. So I just wanted to sort of give you that FYI that I'm not going to count my 1 dozen Quaker S5 starts this month because they were all the same pattern. So it's going to be 50 different patterns that I am putting down. And I will actually, at the end of this year, probably at that point, I will divulge what the true title is of my mystery stitch. And then I will show you the list as I have it so far for the stitches. And then we will keep that running through the whole year. As we wrap this up, I just wanted to do a moment for music. There was such a lovely response to my music that I thought I would do a moment for music one more time. I continue to enjoy the familiar carols at this time of the year. Yes, I love the jazzed up versions, but I do love just sort of singing along with carols. I have been a musician in many churches. At one point, I was the fill-in at 6 different churches at the same time. I didn't have a position at any one of them that was permanent. They just knew that if the organist became sick, they could call me, and I was capable of going in and playing their organ and leading their congregation. And it was within 3 different faiths. It was fine. And it was a privilege to get to know that many people. Mind you, my own children found it difficult to go to the mall with me because everybody recognized me at the mall. And of course, I was one person in front of congregations that were anything from 25 people to 250 people. So I didn't know their name. They knew me. So, but to be able to share music in that way is a special thing. And for me, my most favorite service to play is Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, the later service that is often held at like 11:30 at night so that we can take communion at midnight. After communion, one of the things that often happens is we turn out the lights and it's only candles that are burning. Now, sometimes these days it's electric candles or little digital candles, because it makes it safer, but it creates a glow, and everybody knows the words to the hymns, and even if they totally black it out, as it happened one Christmas Eve, it was okay. I can play Silent Night and Away in the Manger with no sight whatsoever. I can do that and have everybody's voices raised around me. It is a special moment for me. So for you today, I have recorded Away in the Manger. As you know, there's multiple versions of melodies for Away in the Manger, and in this particular one, you'll discover that there is more than one way to put it together so that you can hear both of them. I will include in the description notes below the book that I got this rendition out of, so that those of you who would like to learn to play this can. The book is well worth the purchase. So I'm going to have an insertion of a video within the video here. and thank you. I'm not sure if I will squeak in another quickie video before Christmas. It's quite possible that my next video will end up being in the days following Christmas. For this reason, I want to wish each and every one of you a very special Christmas and Hanukkah season. I wish you the warmth and joy that this season brings. And I hope that you keep your stitching close so that you can always make yourself happy.